Hey there, Scorpio Sun, Scorpio Moon, Scorpio Rising. Welcome to your reading for the week of June 5th through the 11th. Lots of interesting things happening this week. We've got Venus moving into Leo. She's going to spend the next 4 months there. I'm going to be working over on Facebook to work with that energy so that we can all use it. You have the card of pathway, community, and message of concern. You have a choice. So Pluto, your ruling sign, is in retrograde. It's one of them. Mars is the other one. Mars is currently in Leo. But Pluto is squaring your energy right now at that 0-degree point of Aquarius, but it is in retrograde. And this week on Sunday, it moves back into Capricorn. And so that does put you in the energy of choice and decision making with the help of Pluto, helping you to review and look over some stuff that has happened in the recent past to help you make that decision. Now, Pluto is actually going to... in the beginning of next year, move back into Aquarius, and then it will retrograde back one more time into Capricorn. And so while it's in Capricorn, it's a really good time for you, but it'll be only going back to 29 degrees, so it's not going in very far. And then after that, it stays in Aquarius, and that energy will square yours for quite some time. And so getting really comfortable with change and tension and being willing. So now you have a choice right here. A path, an opportunity to make a choice. And so there's something around the community that there's something that is precipitating this that has got you a little bit of concern. Now, what is community? It could be, it could literally be the community you live in. It could be the community you work in. It could also have to do with, because they're definitely showing a family group there. And so it could be that you're wondering, should you move? For instance, wow. For instance, when you rent an apartment these days, every year they raise the rent, and you have to consider whether or not it's time to change your community. Okay, you guys, wow, okay. I like that. Overall energy is you are safe and protected. You have the card of the Tower, but this is a Lenormand deck. Lenormand deck, that means protection, security, and look how golden it is and the sun is on it. And so whatever is happening, and there is something happening, whatever this big change, this big movement, and it feels very large, and that would make sense. It would really make sense with the South Node moving out of your sign. Right there, it's at 2 degrees. The South Node is at 2 degrees. It is opposing Jupiter conjunct the North Node, right? And so it is kind of feels so you got that going on, and that movement, that change. I think that as soon as this weekend, it might be, that's it, I'm done, I've had enough of whatever, let's make this decision. It's going to feel like a very quick decision to people around you, but I feel like you've been ruminating on it, thinking on it. You've got a lot of Scorpio rarely makes a sudden decision, especially as you mature in life. I think maybe when you're younger, you're really ruled by your emotions, but I think after a while, you're like, so running all the scenarios and everything, and people don't necessarily know what's going on with you, and I've been watching you guys in your mind, like doing stuff, and you have this phoenix rising from the ashes kind of energy around you, and in order to do that, in order to be the phoenix that rises from the ashes, there has to be the death, right? The phoenix has to die. It lays an egg, and it is in as it dies, it bursts into flame, and the heat from the flame cracks open the egg, and the new life comes out. And so that is what that cycle is. And you've got this big, huge transformative energy that's been going on. We just had a full moon. Excuse me. Is that right? yes. New moon. I want to talk about the new moon. We had the new moon. We had a full moon last week, but we had a new moon in Taurus. It's got the 6.5 year span, and we've got one coming up next week in Gemini that also has a 6.5 year span, and we're coming off of that full moon in Sagittarius that was seeded when the South Node was at 0 degrees of Sagittarius, so a breath before it even moved into your sign to do that year and a half. And so it's almost like that cycle is completed. The Phoenix is going to bust into flames, and people around you are going to be like, what? Because you've been of two minds about something. Here you are, we got the masks. There's the face you show the world and what you feel inside. There's the outer expression, the inner expression. There's the action do I take, or how do I follow my emotions. It's the two. It's the sun and the moon, and the doorways in between. You've been of two minds about which direction to go, but I think that all changes here with a very quick decision. And this has been weighing on your heart. We have the cost of the burden here. There's a big burden on your heart that's been draining your energy and your resources in some way. And so again, for some of you, you may really love where you live, but somebody came in and they bought up the property and they raised all the, I don't know, the association fees or the apartment fees, or I don't know, it feels like it could be something like that, or somebody just bought the corporation you work for, or what company you work for, and all of a sudden your job description has changed and you're being asked to take a pay cut and blah, 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 and it's just all of a sudden it's just too much. That's it. I'm done. And so in the area of resources where you just feel like you're being slowly nickeled and dimed away, whether it's your physical energy, your emotional, your mental, or your financial energy, it doesn't really matter. You're like, oh my gosh, this is okay. That's it. It's enough. And this transformation, you've been keeping it under lock and key, because here we have the book of secrets, right? That's in the area of transformation, but it's hard to see here, but there is a key that is in the lock that's about to be opened. And the key here is the whips. And the whips, I feel like it's cracking the whip. That's not what this generally means in Lenormand, but I feel like that's what this is. There is something that has been a burden. It's been repetitive. It's been difficult. It's been going on and on and on. It's continuous, and it is just too much. Whether it is, sometimes the whips can represent arguing a lot with somebody. Sometimes it can represent the day-to-day task and showing up. But there's something really about this one that feels like it's time to complete this project. Because in the area of the action to take, you have the scythe. You have the scythe. That is a sudden, quick harvesting. That is the removing of what doesn't work, separating the chaff from the wheat. It is getting it done. It is like, that's it. It's time to go. And here we have the polar bear in the area. So the bear in the area of what has been a struggle. And so I feel like you've been trying to protect something, a way of life, your emotions, because he's coming up out of the water, which is really interesting. I've never heard of it that way before. But this is the card of Spirit having your back, and I don't know that you've necessarily recognized that. So you have two cards of protection here. There are really two cards of protection in the deck, and you got both of them. And so you are very protected. Whether or not you have recognized it all the time, it's hard when you are going through South Node through your sign. But that is all about to change. I want to say it's July 17th, I think, something like that. Something like that. When the South Node officially moves into Libra. 17th or the 18th, yeah. Is that the 18th. The 18th of July. So you're like a month and a week from that, right? So 5 weeks away. So, 5, the number of change. How fun is that? Okay, so there is this big shift, this big change that is happening here. And I think you make the decision. And I don't know that everybody is ready for you to make this decision. I don't know that they had a clear indication it was going to happen, because the Book of Secrets has been closed. But you've been gathering a lot of knowledge. You've been paying a lot of attention, and I think you come to a decision. And what this decision does for you, in the heart space, you have the healing. So I think you're going to be comfortable with the choice and the decision, because you are moving in the right direction when you have the card of healing showing up in the heart. So we're moving from the burden to the healing. So you're moving in the right direction. And so the action to take is to make the choice, to make the decision, to harvest what you can, to make the quick. The scythe is a very quick, sharp cut. What done? And then in the action to anchor into, we have the rider, and this is moving forward. And this one, it's a merry-go-round horse, but it's not in the merry-go-round anymore. You're getting off the merry-go-round, and you're going over the rainbow, and you don't have a rainbow unless you've been in the middle of a storm. And so this is definitely the somewhere over the rainbow, you know, getting away, moving forward. And so there feels like there's some last thing that feels like the straw that breaks the camel's back, this last piece of information, this last incident, this last whatever. And with the whips there, it's been going on for a while. And you're like, nope, that's it. I'm choosing the path that leads to the sunlight. Right? The path, you've been of two minds. There's the path there. And this is taking the path that leads to healing, to joy, and to happiness. And so it's a very big week for you. I think that last week was really difficult because that it's been difficult as Pluto has been holding in a square with Jupiter in Taurus. And that Pluto has been the outlet point for you, Scorpio, because you oppose Taurus's energy there. And so that's where it's been head, heart, which way do I go? What do I do? And I think when Pluto backs out of that square, even though it's still squared by degree, so it doesn't mean that everybody's going to be quite on board, but I think as soon as it moves into Pluto, into Capricorn, it changes the energy, and it becomes the energy of choice and decision making for you. And I think the decision is abrupt, and I don't think it's out of nowhere for you. I just don't know if people around you are going to see it coming. You have the card of the villain. It says you can always rewrite your story, right? So what doesn't work for you, you can change it. And just because somebody thinks you're a villain doesn't mean anything. It's leading to your healing. So your boss is like, oh, how can you leave us right here in the middle of the busy season, or whatever it is, right? You know, whatever it is, this community, whatever it is about the community, either you're changing communities of some sort. You know, it could be. It could be. For some of you, that it's a club or group or an organization or a church group or something that you belong to, and they're like, oh my God, I can't anymore with this. The card of perfection. You have the the moon and the earth. And here we have the light of the sun over here shining on this feather, which feels like spiritual protection. So this is a card about your emotions, and it's black. It's the color black, and it's west. Okay, so dream your passion, fly away. Oh my God. Dream your passion, fly away. Go through the hoop of your innermost fears and desires, meet them, conquer them. What pain from childhood have you not dealt with? Move into the wound of your most secret fears and find the seeds of wisdom. Your most secret fears, what you have kept locked up. And this will allow you to heal. So for some of you, this abrupt change is just happening inside of you, where you finally recognize something. And it's triggered. I want to see what Chiron's doing, because Chiron's in Aries. It's the house of the wounded healer. It's in your 6th house of day-to-day activity, though, if you are a Scorpio rising, but it could be anywhere, depending on what your rising sign is. But I just want to see if Chiron is triggering something. So Chiron is, okay, well, Chiron, no, that wouldn't be doing it. No, I don't see why Chiron would be triggered, but there's something about this. I think you get an aha moment, a huge one, that really allows you to, this thing that has been draining your emotional energy, your sense of joy and sense of happiness, whatever this is, I want to say you have, okay, this is perfection. It's a 17, which it becomes an 8, and 8 is about self-mastery. And so I am the perfection of joy and happiness in my life. Would be a really great I am statement for you to use as you move through this energy. I am the perfection of joy and happiness in my life. Okay, so move into the wound of your secretmost fears and find the seeds of wisdom that are planted there. Face what upsets you the most. It is a great teacher. And in fact, I would say what upsets us the most is often one of our greatest teachers. The thing that triggers us the most is where the most growth happens and the most understanding of ourself happens. So give away whatever is holding you back. Whether it is your lack of self-confidence, maybe that's what you cut out, is your fear of chasing your dreams, your fear of going for that thing that you really want, your fear of not being good enough, your fear of lack. Venus moving into Leo wants us all to step into our power. She wants us to feel very empowered. And if you are a Scorpio rising, Venus is in your career sector. So it could be around the job. It could be anywhere. For me, Venus is in my 8th house of transformation. I'm expecting this to be an interesting ride. But there is something here, right? There is a big, swift realization. And if you will just disengage from your fears and from your anxieties about not being able to manage, it's almost like the repetitive voices in your head, often placed there in our childhood. The things where, you know, my mom, I hate to do this. I'm sorry, Mom. Don't mean to throw you under the bus, but it's all I can see here. When I was a child, my mom would say to me things like, you would be so pretty if only. You would be so pretty if only. The if onlys list was long. All the things that were wrong with the way I look. And so that voice it was really hard to overcome, you know, or why can't you be like your sister who does XYZ, or why can't you do this, or why can't, right? So whatever those voices were in your head, they were placed there, that tape. It's time to pull that out. I'm seeing, you know, when I was a kid, you'd walk down the road. It was during the time of 8-track tapes, sometimes cassettes, but it was usually 8-track tapes. And you would see them on the side of the road all strung out, and you could tell somebody's tape got stuck in the tape deck, and somebody was really angry and pulled that thing out and whipped it out the window. That's what needs to happen here. Whatever this repetitive voice in your head from your childhood that has made you play small, it is time to rip it out and throw it down the road and watch it bounce behind you, and you just keep going forward. And put in a new tape, something that you really like, something that lifts your spirits, and it doesn't tell you that you're not worthy, because you're totally worthy. So really do encourage you to come over onto Facebook. I actually don't know what all we're doing yet. I haven't sat down and had my meeting yet, and it's days away, but I have a lot of stuff that's been coming through. So we'll all discover together what the heck's going on over there. All right, so face whatever has been holding you back, the insecurities, the ego, the fear of failure or of not being loved. Well, that's a big one, the fear of not being loved. The fear of being alone, and be reborn into a new state of perfection. Scorpio, the phoenix rising from the ashes, right? You're going to have to let it go so that, and let the heat of it, and that heat, that flame, that violet flame. There's a link for a violet flame meditation. It's just the music, but it's really great. And it's in the description box below. I've done so much healing using this particular one. There's something about where the music hits. It really, it's in the right place energetically. And just picture yourself laying in this violet flame. So it's not going to burn you, but it is going to burn away the insecurities, the doubts, the pain, the suffering. It is going to allow the healing to enter in. It is going to allow you to be the phoenix that rises from the ashes. So this is a really important kicking off point for you. It's the next year and a half. There's the integration process. The South Node moving out of your sign doesn't mean, oh, good, we're done with that. It is not what happens. It takes about a year and a half while that South Node moves through the next sign, which is Libra, which is a sign of balancing. But it's always that next cycle is always the integration. All the stuff that you've gone through, and now you're beginning the integration process. What have you learned? How can you use it? How can you use this healing time? And it is a healing time. And so as you cut out things, it is hard. It is hard to turn those things off, to redirect. And so whenever I would hear my mom's voice to say, you would be so beautiful if you would be so pretty if, I say, I am so pretty because I had to start changing the words for myself. So whatever it is that you don't think you're good enough, if you don't think that you're lovable enough, if someone says, you're so selfish, you say, I'm so selfless. Whatever that thing is that has been put in there that says you are not capable of whatever, you find the words, because I am is the key. I am is the key that unlocks the magic of your own personal empowerment. That is, why do you think Jesus said, I am, I am, I am? Because that is the magic key. Gosh, I wish I just could make everybody do this. I am, and be careful what you say after that, right? If you say, I am tired, you will be exhausted. Don't do that. I am revitalized. And always make it in the present and only use positive words. Not I am becoming. No, because then for the rest of your life you're becoming. Don't you want to be there? So I am empowered, I am strong, I am confident, I am beautiful, I am loving, I am loved, I am lovable. Whatever you need. And only you know what that is, because you've kept it locked up tight, Scorpio. And you don't have to share it with the world, but you have to look at it. You have to open the book. You have to go in and have those hard conversations with yourself. And then you get to rewrite the story. The one where you are perfection. I am perfection. You can't think of anything else to that. And that is not egotistic. Because perfection is truly being a spark of the divine source. That is perfection. It's not being about perfect. It's about being unconditionally loved and loving. This is your graduation moment. There's so much happening for you guys right now. It is a tough road. It is a tough road. Thank God it's Scorpio. You can do it. I totally believe in you. You just need to believe in yourself. Join me on Facebook, guys. And I'll see you over there. Take care. Oh, one other thing. I do personal readings, so if you want that, I just opened up my calendar. I have a limited space, but I do have space. So the information on how to contact me is also in the description as well. Talk to you soon.